With the company that intends to build 3 more data centres in Dublin, and equally importantly, what issues, if any, have been raised by your department in relation to energy security concerns, given the 3 data centres and all of the others, the cumulative effect.
Thank you, Deputy. Under the Climate Action Plan 2023, the Government has committed to a new demand-side strategy for electricity and gas being put in place. The Commission for the Regulation of Utilities, the CRU, has commenced work in this area by publishing a call for evidence and consultation paper in June of 2023. The closing date has now passed and CRU are currently analysing all responses received. In addition to formal consultation, officials in my department regularly engage with relevant stakeholders, particularly in the context of energy demand strategy currently being conducted by the Commission for the Regulation of Utilities. I've been informed by the CRU that they expect the demand-side strategy will be delivered by the first quarter of 2024, with the aim of 20 to 30% of electricity demand to be flexible by 2030, facilitating active participation by citizens and businesses in the energy market. Large energy users will be expected to make up a high proportional contribution to the target, as they are making up a high proportion of the increase in electricity demand. A review is being carried out of the gas and electricity connection policies for new large energy users to ensure that any new connections are not causing energy security challenges and are in line with our sectoral emission ceilings. Demand-side flexibility will be crucial to fully utilise the ambitious renewable generation that's being developed. Large energy users are important stakeholders in our decarbonisation and renewable energy ambitions, and my officials regularly engage with them as part of a wider collaboration between industry, system operators, regulators and government. It's only by working together that we can achieve our climate goals and optimise the use of renewable generation here in Ireland. It's also important to note that connections to the electricity grid are dealt with by Aire on a case-by-case basis, in line with the assessment criteria as set out by the CRU in November 2021 and available capacity. I'm informed by Aire that the particular data centres mentioned in the question are part of the ramp-up of an existing Aire connection agreement, and that agreement predates the November 21 data centre connection policy decision by CRU. The addition of new demand is therefore expected and has already been taken into consideration in the expected growth figures in the generation capacity statement.
Thank you, Minister. Do you know, there's no official record of the number of data centres in Ireland. So we're reliant on consulting companies. BitPower, as of June 2023, there were 82 data centres operating in Ireland, an increase of 7 in 1 year, 77 in the Dublin region. They estimate, BitPower, that 14 centres were under construction with planning approval for 40 more in 22 projects. Imagine we're relying on BitPower to tell us this. And the government strategy that was there when I came into the Dáil was a thumbs up for the data centres. When that was reviewed, it was 2 thumbs up for the data centres without an analysis. Aire said in 2022 that they would not provide any new grid connections anymore to data centres in the Dublin area. I think you're confirming now that the 3 proposed by the company predate that decision. And 30% of our electricity will go to data centres by 2030. Now,
we had a data centre policy in 2018 which did not refer to security of supply or the climate challenge or emissions. And we have a new data centre policy issued in 2022 which does. It's important that any new data centres that are built are contributing to security of supply and are helping us to meet our climate targets. And that's not impossible to do. In order to build a data centre, you need planning permission, but you also need a grid connection, so you've got 2 hurdles to meet. So getting planning permission for a data centre doesn't mean you can build it. And there are conditions attached to planning permissions, and those conditions are based on the data centre policy that was issued in 2022, which requires, for example, that all new data centres are matched with additional renewable energy generation capacity, which was not going to be available on the grid before that data centre project was proposed. So they have to provide their own 100% renewable energy, and they also have to provide backup in the event of a security of supply problem. And that backup can be drawn on in times of need. And in that way, our new data centre policy allows for improved security of supply, while also providing security, financial security to the 200,000 people in Ireland who work in sectors that depend directly on data centres.
Minister, I realise we need data centres, but do we need the number that we're allowing to take place? Where is that reflected in government policy? The thumbs-up approach in 2018 was disgraceful. The slight changes made since then are welcome. We're going to have 30% of our electricity going to data centres, a 65-acre site owned by the company in question, Amazon. 30% compared to, as I understand, 3% of the energy use in Europe. Where is the policy in relation to what is sustainable? How much of the electricity will be diverted from households? In 2022, Ireland data centres used as much electricity as urban households. I don't know what quantity that is, but that's the CSO document. At what stage will we have a proper analysis of what is sustainable in terms of our commitments for emissions and for a sustainable future?
Thank you. And I'm glad to hear, Deputy, that you acknowledge that we need data centres, and I've heard the same from Sinn Féin, quoting from Senator Lynn Boylan. She said we absolutely need data centres. So there's an understanding that we're not going to just shut down all the data centres or prevent them from being here. Your question, though, is what's the quantity of data centres that we can have, or what's appropriate for the size of our country? Now, clearly we are specialising in this country in the pharmaceutical sector and the tech sector. They're providing more than 20 billion euros a year in corporate taxes, which fund our health programme and our education programme and so on. And that's just in corporate taxes alone. Also, huge quantities of money is coming from that sector in the form of income taxes and VAT. So the question, though, is how far can we build data centres and at the same time maintain our security of supply and meet our climate targets? And what the new data centre policy did is it said that you cannot build a data centre without building a sufficient additional quantity of renewable energy so that it is 100% powered by renewable energy, which would not have been on the grid otherwise. You must have a grid connection, and CRU and EirGrid are responsible for making sure that that grid connection does not interrupt our security of supply and does not mean that a home won't be able to get its electricity. And you must also provide backup power. And I'm glad to see now that that backup power in many data centres is being provided with biofuel. So even on the rare occasions when the backup power is needed, that it's not producing additional emissions. I think that our new data centre policy is very appropriate, is working, it contributes towards security of supply, and it helps us to meet our climate targets. Thank you.